Welcome back everyone. Let's go ahead and talk about one of my favorite Samsung phones that have ever came out, and this one is the Samsung Galaxy S10e, and let's see how this bad boy holds up in 2021. Now this phone is over 2 years old at this point. It came out in 2019, and this is a solid phone. I've already reviewed it earlier this year, and nothing crazy has changed, but I will tell you the landscape of Samsung phones has changed like crazy, and I do think the Galaxy S10e is a very good phone, probably not better in every category than the S21, but it's a very solid phone and I love it a lot. If you want to pick it up, links will be down in the description. You can get that from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now the front of the S10e does have that 5.8-inch dynamic AMOLED display. It's full HD and it's a very good panel. This is another huge asset for this phone that I can spend 30 minutes talking about, but I love the panel of this phone. It looks very good. Hole punch display, the whole 9 yards. All it's missing is 120 Hz, but I really don't think it's that big of a deal. USB Type-C on the bottom, headphone jack, and micro SD card slot. Some other really good things about this phone: you have IP certification and wireless charging and reverse wireless charging. Now to have USB-C headphone jack, micro SD card slot, IP certification, and wireless and reverse wireless charging, you expect those things to become still like on a flagship phone, let alone the budget phone of 2019. So the fact you're getting all those things on a lower package is really crazy in my opinion, and ultimately those are some of the highlights of this phone. That's not even touching the camera. This thing has a dual camera setup on the back, 12 megapixel wide angle lens, 16 megapixel ultra wide sensor, and this is a very good camera still. I mean, it's not perfect, and I will tell you in this day and age, it is becoming a little outdated. Not extremely, but because we do have like 8K and, triple 4 camera sensors on these things, it does seem a little outdated, but it isn't super crazy. And I do think if you're going to be using this phone, I mean, you're not going to be complaining about this camera at all. And you do have a 10 megapixel front facing camera. Now, the back cameras and the front cameras all can shoot 4K at 60, so those are some major highlights. And when you own a phone like this, you want it to be future-proofed, and this is one of those things. This is a case where you're probably going to be future-proofed more so than not, and I really do appreciate that about this specific phone. So camera-wise, beautiful in my opinion. Software-wise, this is another one of those areas I'm kind of 50-50 at. Now, on one hand, with, the Samsung Galaxy S10e, it is running One UI, not the best version of software, but it'll get the job done for a lot of people. Maybe you'll like it. Me personally, I don't really like it. I like stock Android more, but this is still a very good version of software for a majority of people out there. But we are getting software updates, and this thing I think is matching the same thing as the S10 since it has the same chipset, and this thing is going to be getting an extra year of software update now and an extra year of security updates. So that's a major thing about this phone, and definitely one of my favorite aspects about this phone without a doubt. So, I'm not so happy about the software itself, but I am glad that it's getting software updates, so that's a pretty good thing about it. Now, ending it off with the performance, this thing does have that Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 chipset with 6 gigs of RAM on the base model and 8 gigs of RAM on the top tier models. And again, this is another one of those areas of this phone that I never really found myself complaining at. This is a very solid phone in the performance sector, and I think if you're going to be using a phone for the performance, this is one of those devices that's still kind of holding the test of time. Of course, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to get you from point A to point Z as fast as something like a Galaxy S21, but for those basic tasks and for those higher end tasks, for an Android phone that has 6 gigs of RAM and 8 gigs of RAM on the top tier model, this is still a very fast phone. And I think the only thing that's kind of aging it is probably no 12 gig of RAM option, but also maybe no 120 Hz to make it seem smoother. But I do think other than that, this is a very solid phone for the performance, and I, for one, am pretty much a fan of it. Now, the battery life is another one of those areas that I'm really happy about too, that I forgot to hit on earlier. 3100 mAh, and it's funny because I tested this battery life against a ton of other phones as well, and I pretty much found out that this phone's battery life isn't bad at all. Like, it's actually better than a lot of other phones that I tested on standby and video play mode and all that stuff. So I still think the battery life is one of those bigger aspects about this phone too. And to kind of sum up this video and to answer the question, should you go and still buy a Samsung Galaxy S10e in 2021? Well, this is pretty much what I'll tell you. I think this phone is still completely worth it in 2021. It is a beautiful phone with a lot of character. I think this phone is pretty much standing the test of time day in and day out. And like I mentioned, if you want to go ahead and buy a phone, this is the one you want to buy. It's a very good budget phone. It's not perfect, so keep that in mind. It's not going to like blow your socks off or anything like that. But for the price tag, you would be kind of far-fetched to kind of see something that's probably a better deal than this. Unless you're going for something like, the best bang for dollar. That may be for like something like a Pixel 4a, to be honest. But this is a very good phone for the price, and I'm a huge fan of it for sure. So, like I mentioned, I think it's still worth it if you want to pick it up. Links are down in the description. You can get that from there and help support the channel at the same time. That's pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, leave them linked down below. Hit the like button, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.